Goodness, I love some college football.
I love some college
football. Here we go. This was an absolute shocker for me. Penn State and Wisconsin. Wisconsin comes into this game 5.5 point favorites, 49.5 over under. That did not get reached. It was 26 points total. That's not a lot. A lot of defense in this game. Let's get into it. Penn State goes for it on 4th and 4 with 8 minutes and 30 seconds left in the first quarter. I thought that was a bad call. It's a defensive game. They're grinding it out there. Penn State's on the road. You're not really set up for that, and it's 4 yards that you got to get. I don't like the call. Instead, play for field position in that regard. I know hindsight's 20/20, but it seemed pretty obvious in that situation to go ahead and punt the ball. Didn't like that call. For Wisconsin, Leo Chanel out with COVID for the next 2 games. That obviously would have played a factor in this game, but I don't know how much of one. Obviously, it was a huge loss. Not something you want to see. He was second in the team in tackles in 2020, 46 tackles overall in just 7 games, 6 tackles for loss, 3 sacks. That's huge, man. It's not what you want to see in a Big Ten prime affair, West versus East. A game you need really badly if you're Wisconsin at home. I still thought they could get it done, though. But sure enough, they ran into a buzzsaw that is the Penn State defense today. Unbelievable. Later on, 4th and 1 for Wisconsin at the Penn State 33, and I know I'm going to sound like a hypocrite here, but I do agree with that call. I do like that call because it's not 4th and 4, it's 4th and 1. And if you're Wisconsin, this is kind of what you're built for, right? Picking up little short yardage here and there. They end up getting it. Melussi picks it up on the quick handoff. And let's talk about Melussi for a second. My apologies to him. I said that it was going to be Jalen Berger in the backfield. Obviously, I was wrong on that. Hard to tell during the offseason. You're just reading things and looking into camps and stuff like that. I'm not actually on these fan sites and stuff like that except for mgoblog.com. Melussi, good day out of him. 31 carries, 121 yards, 1 touchdown, but only 3.9 yards per carry. So Penn State really held him in check in terms of big playability. Wisconsin goes 14 plays for 46 yards. They hold the ball for 7 minutes and 11 seconds. That is exactly what Wisconsin football does. Before that, Penn State and Wisconsin, they were having these short drives because they weren't having any kind of offense, and the defenses on both sides were spectacular, but it ends in a blocked field goal. So we're still knotted up at 0-0, and Wisconsin on the next drive, they go for it on 4th and 1 on their own 49. Mertz goes up the middle, gets 2 yards, first down, but it doesn't matter. This time around, they turn the ball over on a handoff. Penn State ends up being bend, don't break, and that's how it was a lot of times for them, especially late in the game. Today, they just gave up these drives and got these stops. Later on, the blocked field goal. You get this turnover off the fumble. You get the interceptions later that we'll talk about. It's just Penn State made the plays and Wisconsin didn't. That was pretty much the thin and thick of it. It ends up being 0-0 at the half, and I want to remind everybody it is 2021. But it's still Big Ten football, so that's how it goes. 0-0 at the half. And we got a grinded out game. In the second half, these two teams decided that they were going to learn how to score. Third quarter on a 55-second drive, Clifford went 4 for 4 and got a defensive pass interference from Wisconsin. And then he goes 49 yards to his favorite target, Jahan Dotson, for the touchdown. The commentators were talking about it. When are we going to see some Jahan Dotson in this game? Sure enough, right away out the gates, they must have talked about it in the locker room. They go right to him. Before that, Clifford in the first half was 7 of 14 for 41 yards. So he got more yardage on that one play to Dotson than he did in the entire first half. A half where he threw just 50%. It wasn't good for Clifford early on, but you can't blame him. He's at Camp Randall on the road. First game of the season, a little bit rusty after a shortened season last year, and you're going up against a good, stout Wisconsin defense that's pretty much stopping your run. Wisconsin answers right back with a 10-play, 75-yard drive of their own. It ends in a Chez Melussi 3-yard touchdown. Very Wisconsin-like drive, easy, simple passes, running the ball up the gut, got it done. Later on, Penn State tries to answer back. Jordan Stout missed field goal wide right. Guess what? It was just a 24-yard attempt. He wasn't very good on the day. Definitely one of the negatives if you're looking at Penn State. You don't have many, but that was one of them that they have to clear up for sure. That was on an 8-play, 73-yard drive that took just 2 minutes and 7 seconds. Solid drive there, and can't capitalize off of points. And you're thinking, Penn State, man, you got your opportunities here. You're starting to blow it a little bit. Let's see what happens. Fourth quarter, 7-7, and they played jump around, and I want to talk about this. I wrote this down specifically. Gus Johnson, kudos to Fox here. Gus Johnson, Joe Klatt, they don't say a word the entire time. They just let the fans watching from the television screen watch the Wisconsin fans play jump around and sing to it, and wow. It was just amazing to watch college football be back again and see that kind of atmosphere. I loved it. I adored it. It was amazing. It was unreal. It just gave me goosebumps, and I have nothing else to say. I'm speechless off of it. Wisconsin ends with a field goal on that drive. They make it 10-7. They take the lead. Next Penn State drive, 8 plays, 61 yards. And in the second half, the commentators mentioned it. Joel Klatt and Gus Johnson mentioned it. Penn State started to go to the outside. They realized that nothing was doing. There was a time where Penn State had 9 carries for just 9 yards, so they had to start extending it to the perimeters if they wanted to get anything done, and they started to get a little bit more done that way. It was a little bit more effective. That drive ends up in a field goal. This time, they make the field goal. On the next drive, Penn State goes 5 plays, 68 yards, scores a touchdown, but they miss the extra point. Jordan Stout misses the extra point, and they leave Penn State susceptible to the potential loss. 16-10 is the lead. Extra point missed. Field goal, chip shot field goal missed in this game. Jordan Stout leaving the Wisconsin Badgers in this game, because without that, it would have been 20-10. And all of a sudden, Wisconsin really doesn't have much of a hope in the world. On the next Wisconsin drive, an unreal catch in Penn State territory, in the red zone, in fact, on 3rd and 7. I'm thinking, did that just save the game? By Danny Davis III. 3rd and 7. Pretty good throw out of Graham Mertz on this particular one. And Danny Davis just extends out, grabs it, strong hands on the play. Well, good defense, great coverage, but he is able to make a play on the ball, and the Badgers get the first down, but it doesn't matter. Graham Mertz is intercepted on 4th and goal from the 8, and it's returned to the 42. I got a live reaction. If you haven't seen that already, go check it out. I just put that up. Mertz on the day, 22 for 37, 185 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I'll get into that, don't worry. Clifford, 18 for 33, 247 yards, 1 touchdown, and 0 interception. Running the ball, Wisconsin ran 58 times for 180 yards, 3.1 yards per carry. Not very good, but Penn State's defense is credited for much of that. Good job by them. Penn State ran the ball just 18 times for 58 yards, 2.8 per. So this was like old school 1980s Big Ten football, and that's why it went down to the wire, and that's why it was so low scoring. Both teams stopped the run. I thought Wisconsin, and me and some of the Wisconsin fans were talking about it in the comments before, I thought Wisconsin's offense is going to be much improved, at least on paper this season, and I feel like they would have played fine if it wasn't for Graham Mertz. But on top of that, the Penn State defense and the Wisconsin defense, man, they showed up and showed out. They really used their might on the front 7 particularly, and they played well. They made it difficult for both opposing offenses. But let's talk about Mertz really quick before we close it out. Mertz was just terrible. He wasn't good, man. And again, Wisconsin has the same problem. They have the same problem for the longest time now. They got a great offensive line. They can run the ball. They have reliable receivers that can catch it in traffic. Maybe they could get a little bit more explosive receivers, but as a whole, I like Wisconsin's receivers and what they do. They're reliable. You can depend on them. The defense is always stout. They stop the run. The secondary is playing neck and neck with the receivers most of the time. They didn't give up the big play today. They did everything right. There's always one issue, one noticeable, easy to spot issue for Wisconsin, and it's the quarterback position. And Graham Mertz, after that Illinois game last season, first game of the season, you thought maybe he could be that guy. He can actually throw it over the top. He can actually get it done. He throws with a little bit more confidence. But again, 22 for 37, 185 yards, no touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. That's the story of the day if you're Wisconsin. Graham Mertz isn't going to take you over the top. You're going to have to find that guy. Somebody, if you're listening, I don't necessarily want it. I'm a Michigan fan. But if you're listening and you're a good high school quarterback, a great high school quarterback, in fact, go to Wisconsin. Everything's set up for you there. Head out there. You'll be successful there. I promise you. But until that happens, Wisconsin's never going to get over that hump, in my opinion. And on top of that, I'm not just going to say a knock against Wisconsin. I'm going to say a kudos to Penn State. You made the plays today. You had those 2 interceptions late in the game on the last 2 drives for Wisconsin. You had the blocked field goal, and you had the 49-yard touchdown to Dotson. You made the plays and stood out when you had to, and that's why you got the win, and that's why you're going back to Happy Valley victorious as a 1-0 football team a year after starting 0-5 last year. So that's that. That's the reaction to this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll have plenty of reactions. We're going to continue to react to today's college football action, and I'll see you guys later. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video. Have a great one.